Hello fellow hackers and welcome to the first module in the Python for Cybersecurity series. So in this module, we are going to talk about user inputs and comments. When we use any piece of program like a website or our mobile application, we are always able to click on our mouse or tap with our fingers or type on the keyboard to get some response or to send some data over to the application. Right, so that's why we are starting with user inputs and comments first to help us get used to what programming is all about. Right, so here we have this Jupyter notebook that if you have installed Anaconda, you would be able to launch. Okay, so here we click on new and we click on the new Python 3 notebook. Right, so once we have this, we are able to get to this screen. Right, so let's call our notebook user inputs and comments. Okay, so just to introduce what the Jupyter Notebook can do, say we want to output some data, we can use this function called print. Here we want to press Shift Enter so that it will run this block of code. And here we see that Hello World has been printed out. Now, if we just press enter, as you can see, it will just increase the dialog box, right? So remember Shift Enter to launch the code. Okay, so print is very useful for us to check what our code is doing, right? Of course, if you are using other programming languages like Java or C++, where you are using a more proper development environment, you would have debugging tools to help with that. But as a start, this is perfectly fine. Right, so let's find out what user input in Python can look like. Right, so I have over here this module that I created. So first of all, we want to get a raw input from the command line. The way that we are getting this user input is from the command line, right? So we don't have like a proper application where we can click and then fill in a box and fill in a text box to submit the information. So this is all in the command line. Okay, so let's see what this does. So back in Jupyter Notebook, I have pasted the command here into the notebook. Let's run it to see what it does. Oh. So here we have an error and there's a problem with the copy and paste. So this is the error that Jupyter Notebook will show us. It says that there is a syntax error with an invalid character in identifier. Okay, so this is already our first incident with an error. Okay, so if you notice that the color on this is word here is different, even though the code is correct, right? So what happened here is the double quotes are formatted, so it's not exactly the double quotes that the program that Python is expecting, right? So we have to change this. Okay, so on running the code, there is the question that we can set, and then there is an input that we can fill in, right? So let's say my name is not Adam, but let's go with Adam. Here Jupyter has shown us the output of the program, which is just for our own reference. If you run this program on its own, it will not output anything. Okay, so that's user input. Now comments are used so that developers or programmers ourselves, we can write in some comments to help us remember what a certain function does. Okay, and you can also put in some important information of why this line of code is there. So let's have a demonstration.
2 seconds later.
Let's say that we want our code to get the first name of our user. So we can write in the comments like this with a hashtag or a hex symbol. And then we can just change the text of the input command. Let's run it to see what happens. We see that this line is not run by the program. Only this line is run. Okay, from here we can see how the comment is being ignored by the program and how we can use to put in notes for us to help us along in the programming. Now, of course, when we deploy our program, for example, if you have a web app that you are deploying it to the public, you are going to have to erase all of the comments that you have put in. If not, you risk exposing certain data to the public. So now that we have seen how to get user input and how to do commenting, we can already write our first program. So here are some application ideas that you can already do just by knowing input, right? For example, I have this block of code here. Yeah, so this can help us create a quizzing program. For example, in this example, we see that the code is asking the user for the name, the age, and the hobby. Okay, and then we are going to print out into the output using print. Feel free to try the activity. If you found this useful, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.